Hey, welcome to this week's episode, the Halloween episode. Don't think Mike Babcock will be eating a lot of candy tonight. He's probably still upset about the games the Leafs played. Got no costumes yet. Other teams have had their parties. That's enough from Babcock. Got the jersey back on now for a little bit more of a first round draft pick look. Lots of candy. Maybe you've got a Maple Leafs themed costume. Brings me to memories of a previous Halloween where I dressed up in Fukushima, Japan. Jonas the Monster Gustafsson. With the added bonus of being featured on the Puck Daddy blog back in the day. Those were definitely some great memories and fun times. Let's get back to 2018 and recap recent games by the Maple Leafs. First matchup between the Maple Leafs and Winnipeg Jets. Two teams with Stanley Cup aspirations, at least the strongest contenders from Canada this season. I did notice the pregame montage hyping these two teams as definite Stanley Cup contenders being a little bit over the top. Comparing this game to a preview of the Stanley Cup Finals seems a little bit premature. If this was April, I'd feel a little bit different. I mean, they're both strong teams, but I'm sure there's still a lot of road ahead. Did I hear correctly that Ehlers hasn't scored in 26 games? I mean, if he's the most often used comparable for Nylander, that's a little bit concerning. Kapanen opens the scoring with a great shot. That whole shift was great. Perfect for Babcock. Great shift. Boys worked hard and Cappy managed to put the puck in the net. Anderson was seeing the puck really well at that point and making key saves. Towards the end of the period, there's a moment where there's like busted sticks all over the ice. Poor defending or slow moving by Hainsey, but luckily Liney's shot hits the post and then stays out. That was a fun first period. In the second now, rare shift for the fourth line. Levo keeps the puck in, shoots it, and it's like Winnipeg forgot about Ennis in front of the net. He gets the subtle deflection past the goalie, and the Leafs have a 2-0 lead. Later, a little bit out of nowhere, Kadri gets his first goal flying down the wing. Hooray! Hyman almost got one too in front of the net there. That was a dominant period by Toronto, and I hope to see many more like that. Now Winnipeg starts the third with a strong pushback. It's like at least 5 minutes later before Toronto can get into the attacking zone. So I'm not surprised that Winnipeg gets one back, and it happens to be the previously mentioned Ehlers. So now I understand the whole monkey off the back celebration. Bad penalty by Brown gives Winnipeg another chance to come back, and friggin' Scheifele scores. It's just a 1-goal lead now. The last 13 minutes could be a gong show with the crowd cheering loudly. That Tavares-Marner goal could not have come at a better time. When that puck was flicked out of the defensive zone 20 feet into the air, I wasn't expecting much. So good on those guys for controlling it, staying onside, and working their magic towards the net. That was a nice bounce-back win for the Leafs. I was hoping for a full 60-minute effort, but instead it was 2 periods and then random parts of the third. The Jets had the extra game in Detroit, so it's not a true back-to-back home and home. Speaking of that Detroit game, Winnipeg started really slow. Detroit couldn't capitalize, and then it's like they stopped playing, handing Winnipeg the win. So now we get to the rematch on Hockey Night in Canada in Toronto. First things first, it's good to see Martina back singing the national anthem after last week's injury. Right away you can tell that Kadri's a little bit more engaged, which is something you want. But that boarding penalty right after was an example of him getting a little bit too excited. You can see he tries to hold back, but it's too late. On power play, Jets score. Seemed to be a little bit more scrums after the whistle today. A little bit more ferocious. Maybe they were listening to Tortorella's comment. Leafs get an ugly penalty after the face-off violation following the icing. And you know Don Cherry's going to be all over that during Coach's Corner. When you're a linesman, you don't want to be a hero, but he's just applying the rules. Freddie Anderson comes up with the big saves off the rush. Good kill for the Leafs. Period 2 starts with a 4-on-4. Matthews has a good possession and a strong effort to the net. He's hit hard in front of the net by Jacob Trouba, and he looks shaken up. That's a concern right away. He goes to the dressing room, swearing. Immediately, you can tell it's his shoulder, maybe his ribs. And right after, off to the confusion, Ehlers gets a breakaway. Another strong save by Anderson. Play by the Leafs is pretty scrambly at this point. Saw a little bit more from Levo on that night. Speaking of weird moments, we get a good old hockey game performance break rather than the traditional TV timeout. People in attendance seem to enjoy it. Leafs were probably still in timeout when Scheifele got the breakaway, and because his name's not Ehlers, he scores. Toronto's lines are mixed up, and it seems like they can't remember how to play. It's frustrating to watch. That whole period was forgettable. In the third, there was a moment I was pretty close to turning it off between the commercials. Suddenly, off the break, Kadri gets one back. There's hope. It's good to see from him, especially if Matthews is going to be out for a while. Alright, the energy is back. 10 minutes to go. Leafs draw a penalty off of good effort by Marner. I notice Kapanen is the third forward on the power play this time. It's also the second time this game his helmet pops off. Long hair, don't care. Shortly after, it's the first time I noticed the icing duration tracker. Interesting addition. You saw a lot of guys gassed tonight, bent over, trying to catch their breath, which was a little bit surprising, given that it's Winnipeg who had the extra game the night before. It's basically Marner and Kadri creating all the chances at this point. I was seriously losing hope. But then Gardner pops one with 3 minutes to go. It's a nice addition for his 500th game. And then Kapanen gets one 26 seconds later. Wow. Perfectly placed shot. What is even happening? That was completely unexpected. Let's just call it 2 points earned the hard way. News came out early Monday morning confirming Matthews' injury and that he would miss at least 4 weeks of action. Everyone's making sure to point out that it's the other shoulder, not the one that he injured last year. So the first game without Matthews was versus the Flames at Scotiabank Arena. And to me it feels like they've been at home or nearby for a while. I was curious to see the line combinations and who would step up in the absence of 34. It's also worth noting that Dermott isn't playing either. Is he still sick, or is it Babcock making it difficult for him to earn a spot back? You know, Dermott's been sick, so he just needs to work hard and do the right things, and then we'll put him back in the lineup when it makes sense. And right away, you've got Anderson making some key saves from early on. The rest of the team is still warming up, it seems. 6 minutes pass before Toronto can get its first shot on net. Then there's a strange moment on the 4-on-3 where Marincin comes in to take the draw. Suffice to say, he lost that one pretty clearly. Calgary was able to get a pretty good chance off of that. Freddie's being called upon early and often. Otherwise, not too much to say. It's like a bunch of hungover guys playing pickup hockey. Leafs have only got 4 shots at the end of the first. They've got a shortened power play that carried over to start the second period. And the once feared power play has been pretty quiet lately. And that was the case even before the Matthews injury. Otherwise, I don't have too much to say about this game. It's the Freddie show, and lots of commercials. Too many commercials. The puck even ended in Calgary's net, but it was a few seconds after the end of the period. The buzzer had gone, so it's still scoreless. Bunch of fumbled chances to start the third. And 6 minutes into the third, we've got our first goal. We've been patiently waiting for this one. Comes on the power play. Unfortunately, it's for the Flames. And another one for the Flames right after. The 2-man advantage produced a late goal for Kadri. 3 goals in 3 games for him is good moving forward. No late game heroics this time. Hyman thinking he had scored when the puck was actually on top of the net. Such a Hyman thing to do. Frolik adds an empty netter off the brutal Riley giveaway up the middle, and that seals the win for Calgary. Now, you never want to give away 2 points because of the parity in the league. But given the fact that the Leafs literally stole the win from Winnipeg, and they played like garbage against Calgary, it's not entirely unreasonable to take the loss and move on. So if we're trying to focus on positives, the Leafs games for October are over, and aside from that Ottawa game a little bit earlier in the season, Freddie Anderson played great. He seems to have put his habit of bad Octobers behind him. It's time to regroup and focus on the upcoming games. Don't forget to like and share this week's video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And keep an eye on updates during the week on Twitter. Send us your questions and photos of your Halloween costumes.